Hi, I'm Colleen Carroll. Welcome to Avant-Grad, Ohio's Trailblazers, and our special Giving Day 2021 edition. This is where it all happens. I'm on the court at the Convocation Center in Athens, Ohio. It's the biggest landmark in town, and it's where most recently Ohio men's basketball head coach Jeff Boals led the green and white to the NCAA tournament. He's been here and there before as a Bobcat player himself, and he's here now as a proud 1995 biological sciences graduate to tell us all about it. Coach and I will also share how you can be part of Giving Day by making a gift to the Ohio Bobcat Club to support our student athletes or choose another area of need that's dear to your heart. Take a shot by visiting giving.ohio.edu. Thank you for joining me for this very special episode of Avant-Grad, Ohio's Trailblazers, featuring our own Coach Boals. Hi, Coach.
Hello, Colleen. How are you?
I'm great. It's so awesome to talk to you today. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. This is a very special episode, special Giving Day 2021 episode. Of course, tomorrow is Giving Day. And what's really cool is that the Ohio Bobcat Club is one of the featured funds for Giving Day. Any fans out there who want to support student athletes can do so by going to giving.ohio.edu to make a gift to the Ohio Bobcat Club. And all gifts will be matched up to $5,000 thanks to the generosity of Tim Holt, who is a 1997 College of Business grad and an avid supporter of Ohio athletics.
Very generous of Tim to do that. And, the Ohio Bobcat Club is a great opportunity for anyone to invest in these student athletes in these programs. And, I think what it does is gives a transformative opportunity for these teams to do tutoring to benefit and supplement their travel budgets, their equipment budgets, allow them to get nutritional supplements for their student athletes. And a gift goes a long way to help transforming their student athlete experience and giving back to Ohio University.
Absolutely. And you certainly know about that firsthand, and we're going to get into that a little bit. I would like to start with your history a little bit. We'll definitely talk about, the past few exciting weeks and months in this awesome year with the Bobcat basketball team. But I'm curious to hear about your upbringing. Where did you grow up? How did you get into athletics? We know, of course, you played for Ohio, your alma mater, which is awesome. But how, was it a thing for you and your family upbringing? Was athletics around? What were your school days like before you made your way to Ohio?
Yeah, I grew up in Magnolia, Ohio, which had 1,000 people on a really good day, and great small town morals and values and Midwest upbringing. It's probably about 15 minutes from Canton, Ohio, about 2 hours and 15 minutes from Ohio University. I made that trek often, down 77 across 50.
Yep.
But love where I grew up. Try to get back as much as I can, and I grew up playing sports, and back then, at a small school, everybody played 3 sports year round. And, the travel basketball, the travel baseball wasn't really big back then. So you had summers to be a kid. And, we would, go meet up at an outdoor court, play pickup for hours on end. And just great experiences, great memories. And, glad I grew up where I did.
That's awesome. And how did you choose Ohio University? Was it the basketball?
So, when I was going through my senior year, I tore my anterior cruciate ligament, my ACL, in the state All-Star game in St. John Arena. And I was 17 years old at the time and had, no idea what I was going to go, where I was going to be. And I thought my life was over. 17 years old, you tear your ligament. Back then, you were damaged goods. And I had a few schools recruiting me. And when I tore my ACL, a lot of schools backed off. And ironically, Miami of Ohio and Ohio University gave me an opportunity to walk on, to the basketball team. And I came down to Ohio University, met with Coach Hunter, who was my head coach when I played. I absolutely loved the campus, loved the feel, loved the vibe, loved the combo, and decided to attend Ohio University. And turned out to be the best decision I've ever made.
It's so great to hear your story. And, it must have been such a challenging time. I know that you were a redshirt freshman, but your journey as a player on the team is so incredible for you to, be a 2-year captain and, help lead your team to the MAC championship and the tournament. Quite a journey from when you were a freshman. I did a little research and I uncovered something called the DNP crew. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, that's classic. How about that? So, my first year, I didn't practice or play because I was rehabbing my knee. And, when you're not involved and not practicing, you don't feel part of a team, just because you're not around. And then my second year, my redshirt freshman year, that's when the DMP crew kind of came to fruition. And it was Jay Barry, Chad Estes, and myself. And so what we would do is during warm-ups, we would, everyone's doing their shooting stuff, and we would keep track of our points in warm-ups. And whoever had the most points in warm-ups got to sit closest to the head coach. So there was three of us. So, one guy would sit here, one here, and then the last guy would sit right by the team doctor, who was Dr. Karen, Steve Karen. And me being a big guy and those guys being guards, they had advantages because they'd start shooting threes. So normally I'd be the guy sitting beside Doc Karen pretty much every single game. And what for the listeners, the DNP means did not play. And normally it's, if you don't play, it says DNP/CD, coach's decision, or it could be DNP/INJ, injury. So we had a lot of DNP CDs, because we didn't play. And anytime there was a blowout, good or bad, we were like we would sit there and guess who would get in the game first, and at what time during the game we would get in. So we'd be like, "Hey, Chad's going to go in at the 117 mark, whatever." And then once we all three got in, sometimes we would try to get together and get one guy all the shots, in those 2 minutes that we're able to play. And I ended up playing a combined 39 minutes, the whole redshirt freshman year, which is not equivalent to one whole game, a 40-minute game. So, but great memories, and the DMP crew, to this day, we talk about it.
That's awesome. So quite a change over the years when you were playing for Ohio. Um, like I said, we'll get to some talk about the big dance and what that was like for you being a coach as opposed to being a student. But tell us a little bit about that journey for you. I know that Coach Larry Hunter was a real mentor to you, and I happened to be on campus at the same time you were on campus, and I remember Coach Hunter and hearing about him. He was a real legend, it seemed, and I know he was a really important figure in your life.
Yeah, when I took the job, I told everybody I have one regret, about taking this job, and that was that he wasn't here to see it. He passed away a couple years ago, and through the years, coaching is different. Coaching is life and father figures, mentors, and there probably wasn't a big decision I made where I didn't call him and run it by him, like buying a car, jobs, getting married, etc. And I wouldn't be here without him today. He got me into coaching. He gave me an opportunity to play at Ohio University, and I'm forever indebted. And this year, without the fans being allowed to attend, they had the cardboard cutouts, in the lower bowl, and somebody had bought one, and Coach Hunter's cutout was behind our bench, and I looked at that, in every single game before we played, and just the memories of the opportunity he gave me, I'll forever be grateful. And being at Ohio University with Coach Hunter there and playing there, I think what it does, it teaches you perseverance, it teaches you teamwork, discipline, self-discipline, work ethic, all those little things that equate to life. And the things I went through, there are a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And you have to deal with adversity, you have to deal with prosperity. Was very fortunate to play with a lot of great players and great teammates. We have a text chain to this day with 10 guys on my team, and those are lifelong memories and friends.
It's so great to hear about those bonds. I wanted to ask you about that. We talk about the Bobcat Nation, and we always hear so many stories about people being on an airplane, right? And they have their ball cap on or they have their Ohio gear on, and they'll see someone and make that connection. But I know that, to your point about the text chain, that those bonds of having those teammates run even deeper. The Bobcat ties are even stronger. And then also, your relationship with your fellow coaches and your former fellow assistant coaches. What's that like, having that community there for you?
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think, and like I told our team after we lost in the round of 32, when you're part of a team, you have a great bond and great relationship. When you're part of a championship team, you're bonded for life. And I told our guys, you're gonna have reunions. You're gonna be in each other's weddings, and that'll never be taken away from you. And that's kind of how our group is. We've had reunions at Ohio University. We've had reunions in Columbus, reunions in Dallas, Texas. Where we get together and spend some time, and those lasting, lifelong friendships, are based on Ohio University and the experiences that we had. And the slogan, "Forever Ohio," means a lot to me. It means a lot to them. And before I took the job here, I told our guys on that text chain that I was taking the job before it went public. And the elation, the feedback that I got
Oh
was
yeah.
awesome. And now that I'm here and just another tie-in for someone who they played with is coaching their alma mater, our alma mater. It makes it that much more special.
Yeah, I bet they love it.
Even going through the championship, these guys will keep you humble, which is probably a great thing to have a group of guys like that.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
we're playing these we're playing these tournament games, and we beat Virginia, and we have like 900 messages after the game, and a bunch of those guys are trying to tell me how to coach, what I did wrong, and I'm like, we just beat the defending national champs, but that's what makes a special unit. We crack on each other, and no one's safe in that group.
You've got lots of advisors out there, lots of fans and lots of advisors.
You definitely have a lot of people that the support was unbelievable. Worldwide, countrywide, people you haven't heard from in a long time. And I had two negative responses. One email and one letter in the mail. And those are always funny to get. But the reception from Bobcat Nation has been unbelievable.
Jumping back to Coach Hunter, of course, he was a great influence on you as a player, but he also gave you your first coaching job. Am I right?
Yeah, so I was a biology major and wanted to be a physical therapist. So I took organic chemistry, neuroanatomy, cell chemistry, all these classes to prepare myself for my future. And 20 games into my senior year, I tore my ACL for the third time. And at that point, my career was over, basketball career. And as many 22-year-olds, you have no idea what you want to do in life. So I was kind of searching, and we had lost an assistant coach at the end of the year. And Coach Hunter came up to me and asked me if I'd be interested in coaching, that he had an opening. And I tell people I literally fell into coaching, and that's how I got my start, 26 years ago.
Would you say that you carry on some of Coach Hunter's principles, some of his, leadership traits?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the one great thing about, being around different leaders. You always take something, from them that you'll use, if you ever get an opportunity to be a head coach. And, before became a head coach at Stony Brook, I talked to a lot of people, and everyone said, hey, you got to be yourself. You can't be Coach Hunter. You can't be Coach Mata. You got to be Jeff Boals. And you always draw back on experiences, that you went through as a player, you went through as an assistant coach, to kind of formulate how you want to become as a head coach. And definitely the intensity. One thing Coach Hunter used to always say about 50 million times was compete, 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 compete. And we're really big on competition and competing, and that's one thing that I really took from him that stuck from day one.
You were at Ohio State for quite a while with Coach Mata, who you just mentioned. Had a lot of success there, 3 Big Ten titles, a Final Four appearance. Um, what were some takeaways from that experience?
Yeah, just an awesome time, and it was almost, how to become a head coach, master's level, being around Coach Mata, and he empowered you as an assistant coach. He gave you a lot of responsibility, and it helped me become a head coach and really prepared for my first head coaching job. There's not a week that goes by that I don't talk to him. He's been a great mentor for me, a great sounding board for me, a great consultant for me, and I wouldn't be here without him.
What's a day like for you? Tell us about a day in the life of a coach, and maybe even a little bit. How is being a head coach different from being an assistant coach?
Yeah, a day in the life of a coach is interesting. I think one of the best things about our profession, it's not cookie cutter. It's not a 9 to 5 job. It's never the same thing every day. It's something different, and it can be 365 days a year. I think with cell phones and laptops, you're always making recruiting texts and calls and watching video and recruiting, calling donors, calling the guys on your team, talking to your staff. So I think one of the best things about it, it's something different every day. There's some really long days, and some days there's some short days. And I think one of the biggest things in coaching, you have to find that work-life balance. I always tell people one of the worst things about coaching when you have a family, you miss anniversaries, you miss birthdays, you miss, your kids' sporting events, you miss graduations. But there's a way more positives than there are negatives. And I think the best thing about it is something different. As an assistant coach, you have certain responsibilities. It might be recruiting, your academic group, individual workouts, just different things that you have to deal with on a daily basis. As a head coach, you oversee scheduling, compliance, academics, recruiting, uh, boosters, game planning, scheduling, everything that involves. So you're more of a CEO, when you become a head coach. And I think it's very important, that you have those assistant coaches, with you that help support you, maybe have strengths to your deficiencies and that you trust because, they spend a lot of time with the players. They know who we want in our program, how we do certain things and our support staff has been phenomenal.
So it's a pretty incredible skill set. I've heard you before liken the job of a head coach to that of a CEO. And you've got leadership and strategy, creativity, just collaboration. So many skills that you also are modeling and teaching to the players who are our students. We're sending them off to become leaders in the world. Where do you think you developed some of those skills? Was it, learning from your mentors, from your time at Ohio? What would you attribute to some of those skills? Are some of those just inherent in your personality?
I think some are inherent, some are learned, and I think a lot of like most things in life, you want to educate yourself as much as possible. You want to learn, and read a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts, talk to a lot of people. And when I played, I always felt like I was a coach on the court just by communicating, talking, and everybody's different. You have different personalities. You have to figure out how to get through to a certain player, what you can say to one player and not the other player to get them to be effective. And that's probably one of the biggest things as a head coach is the communication piece, how to talk to people, how to relate to people, how to motivate people. And I feel like you have the executive piece, you have the communication piece, you have the coaching piece. There's a lot of things that go into being an effective leader, and I really try to study as much as I can. But at the end of the day, you have to be yourself. You have to have your personality and put your imprint on things. But you're always learning. As a head coach to try to be better.
And I think back to, that press conference where your position at Ohio as head coach was announced. There was an account in the Post that, where Jim Schaus said that you have a personality that's just naturally infectious and enthusiastic and visionary. So I appreciate you saying that, some of these skills are just, they're just in you. But tell us about that press conference and that moment, because the way it was described just sounds really incredible. It sounded like the excitement in the room was just palpable.
Yeah, it was a really surreal feeling. The first thing I did when I, flew in, had my family with me, and we walked into the Convocation Center. And the first thing I did was look up into the rafters and looked at the banners. And, my goal and my dream was to, bring another championship to Ohio University. And I really wanted our guys to experience what I went through as a player. There's no better feeling when you're growing up, you watch March Madness, when you play, you think about, dream about seeing your name pop up on Selection Sunday, and there's no better feeling. And every single day I walk into practice, I thought the same thing, but that's the first thing I did before our press conference. And when I went to the press conference, it was emotional because, Coach Hunter was not there. Dr. Hakita, my academic advisor, showed up for it, who I had not seen in years. Skip Bossler, who was our trainer, who's a legend in the training industry, was there. Brenda White, had been there 30 some years. Our secretary, she was a secretary when I played, and you just saw a lot of people, and when you realize where you're at, right, it's a special place, a place that you played, and it had always been a dream of mine to be the head coach at Ohio University, and it came reality.
It's a great All-American story, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's hard to become a head coach, and especially at a really good institution. And Dr. Nellis was very instrumental in me coming here. Jim Schaus, obviously, was the athletic director who hired me. And when I met with them, our visions were aligned. And anytime as a head coach, as a leader, of a men's basketball program, the alignment from the president to the athletic department to the athletic director to the campus is really big. And I think coming back, like I said, I'd walk around and there'd be grounds people, that hey man, I watched you play. Welcome back. Professors, fellow students that were bringing their kids back for orientation. Right, their kids are coming to school here.
Right.
And running into them up on Court Street. Just a really cool feeling.
Tell us a little bit about your kids. You mentioned your family. I think some athleticism runs in the family. There's some sports happening. Can you share a little bit about what they're into?
Yeah, so my wife and I, my wife Katie, she's an unbelievable wife, mom, basketball wife. She gets it.
Yeah.
And she loves the sport. And when you lose, she's one of the two text messages that you get. You get one from your wife and one from your mom. Telling you, hey, don't worry about the loss. When you win, you get multiple texts. But she's sacrificed a lot in her career. She works for Deloitte Consulting. And has moved. We've moved a lot in these last.
You have, yeah, yeah.
20 years, and the support that she's given me for my career has been unbelievable. We have two kids. My daughter Sydney is a senior, and she's graduating here in about 60 days. She'll be attending Florida State University next year to be on the swim team. She also wants to be a physical therapist, so she's excited about that. And then I have a son, Chase, who's 14, who eats, breathes, sleeps, drinks basketball. The recruiting piece, the wins, the losses, he's all in.
No surprise there.
No surprise.
So here we are. It's April 2021, and it's been an incredible year for the team, an incredible experience for you, making it to the big dance. For you being on the other side, right? So you were there as a player, now being there as the coach, and just how exciting. Was there a moment for you, where just a standout moment?
Well, I think, Colleen, if you look at the whole year, as kind of macro, the sacrifice and self discipline and what it took to get there. I don't know if the normal, person out there knows what these young student athletes, men and women, went through. And our year started out really good. We played in the Illinois tournament, and they were top five in the country, and almost beat them. We were winning late, and then we went through the course of the season, had a couple injuries, had a couple COVID pauses, and then it came to the MAC tournament, and we played our best basketball of the year. And I think the special time was really seeing our guys having fun playing the game. And then when that final buzzer went off and they all ran on the court to celebrate, there's nothing better. And that memory will be ingrained in my head forever. And like I said before, the fact that they got to experience the emotion, the jubilancy of what I was able to experience as a player, that means the world as a head coach. And then to not celebrate with their families and not go back to campus and celebrate with their peers, it was tough. But we went to the NCAA tournament, and we were in the bubble there. And I wanted our guys to see the Selection Sunday show, because that's another memory in my head I'll never forget. And to see Ohio pop up on that screen, and everyone just stand up and going crazy, and they got their phones. That's something they'll never forget. And then to go beat the defending national champions, the ACC champs, Virginia, in the first round, you couldn't ask for a better scenario. And just the joy it brought to the campus, the community, Bobcat Nation throughout the world. Just seeing the social media posts and just a surreal, awesome feeling.
Yeah. And a challenging year with the pandemic and the COVID pauses, like you mentioned. Did the time on court and the time playing the games feel all that much sweeter, you think, just because it was such a dicey year?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, we'll all be better, going through this experience. Whether it's dealing with adversity, right? Dealing with the quarantine and being by yourself from a mental health standpoint, just a time commitment standpoint, and really appreciation for a lot of little things that were taken away that you really took for granted. And I think, we talked about self discipline and self sacrifice. They couldn't have a normal college experience. They had to limit who they hung out with. We talked ad nauseum about wearing your mask, washing your hands, and that's tough for any 18 to 22-year-old to do, and do it every single day. And really, what we talked about was the most mature team, the most disciplined team, was going to prosper at the end of the year. And we went 7 months without one incident. And then February 2nd, we play at Central Michigan, and then we had our first positive test, and then it kind of went through a wave. And for that whole month of February, it was difficult, from a mental health standpoint, physical standpoint. We didn't practice very much, but I feel like the character of our guys and the culture of our program really helped us get through that moment and helped us win the MAC tournament.
What are some of the challenges you think going forward for this next year, whether it's, recruiting, while the pandemic is still happening, some of the other issues that might be present for you or for the players for this coming year?
Yeah, I think, probably the biggest thing, we have a lot of our guys coming back and, really taking a break. I thought it was important. We gave our guys a couple weeks off and told them to go home. Some of these guys have not been home since last July and had not seen their families. And so I think really just taking a break, refreshing, re-energizing, finishing strong academically, and then we'll bring them back for summer school and hopefully have a more normal routine. We're in the process, like most everybody, trying to get vaccines, for our guys, and hopefully we can start moving forward. But I think there's a lot of lessons learned through it, but recruiting is going to be a challenge. We haven't seen a lot of these seniors and juniors in a couple years, and now you add the transfer portal. It's a whole different dynamic for recruiting, for every sport. And so there'll be some challenges, but like I said, we'll be stronger, through this experience. And we're really looking forward to next year.
What would you be doing if you weren't coaching?
That's a great question. I can't imagine my life without coaching.
I know.
But my guess is either being a physical therapist or somehow involved with sports, at some level. I really feel like being around a college campus and being around, our guys is energizing. It's something different every single day. You meet a lot of people, you travel to a lot of places. And I think the most special thing is the impact that you have, on these young men and help shape who they're going to become when they graduate. And one of the coolest things for me, Colleen, was to really get these messages from guys that I coached at Robert Morris, at Charleston, at Marshall, at Ohio State. The impact that you had as an assistant coach and as a head coach that you might not realize. And like everybody involved with, anything on campus, we're here and we're servants for the student athlete. And we need to make their experience, as good as it possibly can be. And, I always tell our staff, like, don't ever forget why you do what you do. And, when you're involved in that and understand why, it's so much fun to be around, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Do you see yourself as an educator? Because you really are. You are educating that, next generation of leaders. But I wonder if you see yourself as an educator.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you're an educator, you're a psychiatrist, you're a mentor, sometimes you're a father figure. And there's so much that goes into being a coach, more than X and O's. And you teach life lessons. And there's every single day that we try to teach them something, whether it's an article that we read or something, a quote that we see. We talked at the end of the year, the power of 3 words saying, I love you, and finding somebody that you care about that's helped you along the way to appreciate. There have been times where, our locker room wasn't very clean, that I had our managers put a piece of trash in front of everyone's locker. I walked in, sat them down. I said, okay, here's what you do with this trash. Pick it up. Here's the trash can. You put it in the trash can. Just little simple things like that, life lessons. And these will be things that they learn, that we teach. And everybody learns through experiences, good and bad. And I think that's what, coaching is all about.
Absolutely. Well, I have a few last questions, some Ohio highlights, some quick fun questions to wrap up with. But before we do that, I just want to remind our listeners that tomorrow is Giving Day, and the Ohio Bobcat Club is a featured fund. So if you're interested in supporting our student athletes so they can, have more access to improved equipment and wellness services and all that good stuff, you can go to giving.ohio.edu to make a gift. Your donation will count toward benefits such as premium seats and preferred parking, which is always a bonus, and hospitality access. So we appreciate all of the fan support for our student athletes. So with that said, just to wrap up, some Ohio highlights. So I'm wondering, Coach, if you could tell us, for example, what would be a favorite spot for you on campus? Maybe thinking back to your student days and also now being back on campus. Is there a favorite spot for you? Unless it's a very obvious favorite spot.
Well, other than the Convocation Center,
Yeah.
I just love. I love and enjoy just walking around campus. College Green to me, the epicenter of campus, and obviously going up and down Court Street. It's just a beautiful place, beautiful campus. I've been to a lot of different, universities in 26 years, and Ohio University is a top 5 campus that I've seen. So really, probably College Green.
Yeah, College Green is the best. What about from your student days, thinking back to places you used to hang out, things you used to do? Was there a favorite food by chance that you remember?
Well, I mean, burrito buggy, right? Souvlaki's,
Yep.
those type of places. But I think as a student, you just really cherish the time. I was a West Green guy, I lived in James Hall and Sargent Hall, and I
Mm-hmm.
love living over there. We ate at Boyd Hall, cafeteria, and a lot of the other student athletes were over there. And just the times you spent, in the dorms, with different people other than student athletes, other than your teammates. And I've run into some of those guys, through the course of the years that I stayed within James Hall, and just a lot of great memories.
Any music that you listened to at the time that you remember?
Yeah, I think you always flashback, when you hear some song, a particular song, that you might hear, at the pub, or in the dorm, or in the locker room, and you always have something like that triggers a memory. But I remember I saw the Bare Naked Ladies, excuse me, 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant, in Memod, one time, and just the little things like that pop up that you remember, your experiences on campus.
Absolutely. And what has changed the most? You have such a great perspective, of these years in between. What do you think has changed the most about campus or about Athens?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes this place so special. A lot of the people are still here, and I'm talking professors, academia people, bar owners, restaurant owners, and then people that graduated that stayed, to work and run a business. Probably aesthetically, the biggest thing is Baker Center. Baker Center was more, across from College Green. When I was here, now it's a beautiful multi-level, multi-purpose, building. So that's probably the biggest change. But you know, the cherry blossoms, weren't here when I was there along the bike path, which adds another beautiful dimension to campus. But I think what makes it unique is its own place and the people, that are here.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. That's a great note to end on. I can't thank you enough, Coach, for squeezing us into your schedule. I sure hope that you have a break as well, and can't wait for next season. Next year, we'll be definitely cheering all of you guys on.
Thank you for having me, and obviously, as an alumnus and part of Bobcat Nation, we appreciate all your support, monetarily, and even, you know, just the social media messages that we've received. And I think, giving back to our university, and providing for these students and student athletes, and paying it forward, from our experiences, is the right thing to do.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.